Hey, it's raining outside, and so I decided to take a moment to introduce you to the incredible Dodge Diplomat, Plymouth Volare, Dodge Aspen, Chrysler New Yorker. Anyway, the front end that the Ford guys started using, and so most everybody calls it the Volare front end. I decided to show you why it works so well. This is as if you're looking at the front of the car. Everything's there. It's all ready to go. You can get these sometimes for 150 bucks like this. They still have to be rebuilt. It can be tough to rebuild them because a lot of the parts can be hard to find. The hardest part to find is a complete isolator, insulator kit right there. It's sometimes you can find this stuff, okay, polyurethane, that sort of stuff, and then you can just cut this clamshell out and try and slide it in that way. It's hard. It's not easy. And the other parts are pretty much, that I would say that's probably the toughest part to get. But this is the hubs. I can get those, no problem. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say just those insulators in the front are probably the toughest part to get, and they're probably the most important because this is how the whole system works. Is that there's two L torsion bars on there. This is what they came up with in '76 for the Dodge Aspen and Plymouth Volare. They started as compact cars, and then they ended their run as intermediate cars. And I'm sure it's because true compact cars were making their presence known at that time. The points that they attach on the frames of those cars, there's 4 points. These are the insulators to the frame. You can buy those aftermarket from, I forget the guy's name, but he makes aluminum spacers if you wanted to have a more solid connection to if you're building an actual Diplomat or something of the sort. I'm more concerned about explaining this to guys who want to put this on their trucks, their old vintage trucks. The trick to putting these on there is knowing where they align, how to line them up on there. It's really difficult because there's no real obvious points to measure from. But the best thing you can do is to find the center line of the axles across here and match it with the center line of the axle from the original axle that's on your truck, and you kind of go from there. I've put a lot of these on. I've made a jig. I have some spacers that I've made to help with the towers. This is kind of a shroud. There's kind of 4 bolts on this thing. And it comes off like a shroud. This upper control arm comes off with these 2 bolts, and then there's 4 on this shroud that comes off and exposes the tower right there. And that's how I work with them. When I put them on the new frames, I take all of that off, lower control arms, everything. I usually put Mopar engines in, so I keep these engine mounts. They're angled back about 3 degrees. Tilting the tail of the engine 3 degrees to the rear. And the nice thing about them is that they're not real expensive, and it has your steering, it has your linkages, everything is all on here, lower upper control arms and the disc brakes. You spend, like I said, you can spend as much as, let's say you spent 200 bucks buying it, and you spend another 500 bucks restoring it, you're 700 bucks into it. If you buy an aftermarket, just for the steel and everything to weld to the frame, you're going to be up in 1,500 bucks, and you don't have half of what's right here. And if you don't do it yourself, you're going to spend a lot more. The idea is that this is for the hot rodder who isn't trying to win at the show so much as he's just trying to really enjoy himself. And these can help you do that. I have this same front end in my Bonneville truck that I race in the 150 mile an hour class. I also have a Ford Thunderbird independent rear suspension in the back. So having independent front suspension, independent rear, my 1950 truck runs really smooth. And this one is going to get, I'm going to tear this one down, so I'll probably show you more videos on what I do to it. And then the jig that I use to line them up on the frame. And the jig I made, of course, is for a Dodge frame. So, I mean, I don't know what else you could really say about these. I mean, here's the adjusters right here. And this side will adjust for the driver's side. And then the driver's side adjuster is controlling passenger side. And there's only about an inch and a half play in that adjustment. Some guys want to lower them to the ground or raise them up, and they don't ride good. They either ride sloppy or they ride tight. If you put it in the right spot, it rides correctly. And that's kind of how my jig is set up, so that it lets it ride correctly. Anyway, that's the front end. Started at 76, and I think it made it as far as 89. You have to double check me on that. The bodies they came on were the F body, M body, R and J. I think that's it. RMJF. And you can look it up on Chrysler body types, I think it is, on Wikipedia. And you look into that era. And then you can find all the cars that came on. And you can find out if somebody's got one sitting in their front yard that you probably should buy the whole car for nothing and strip this out of it and see how good it is. Check those insulators. So sometimes you can get lucky and everything's in great shape and you don't have to do anything. Alrighty, good luck with that. Thanks, guys.